Hi everyone, welcome back to our garden. So I'm here, Janie asked me to do this intro today because she has completely lost her voice after the event that we had on Saturday. Yeah, I guess she probably did a little bit too much talking. Who could have predicted that, right? But anyways, so yeah, she's kind of out of commission as far as talking on camera right now, but we wanted to make sure that we showed you these clips from the event. We had 3 awesome speakers. We had Robbie from Visit Our Garden, we had Michael Glassman, and we had Kate David. And so all 3 of them are going to be on this video. You get to hear the cool things that they talked about during their speech. So I hope you guys all enjoy this.
This whole event, for those of you who watch my videos, you know that this has been my dream to do the Proven Winners pop-up event, because why? We don't get access to Proven Winners here for some reason, right? It's incredibly annoying. I feel like sometimes people forget about us here in Northern California, Zone 9B, and so we're gonna be the squeaky wheels that we keep saying, hey, we're here, we want beautiful plants. We have a super amazing gardening zone and gardening climate, and we need to be louder about that. So that's what we're doing here. So I just want to thank you all, you guys being here and buying the tickets, which good job for getting them early, because I cannot believe how fast this sold out, which was amazing. I cannot thank you all enough. And then just as a side note, I cannot thank you all enough for just watching my videos. Like, you all have changed my family and my life. This was a hobby turned obsession, turned to something that I can't stop talking about, and my husband was getting annoyed at me. And so I started videoing, and I started talking to you all. And whenever I talk to my phone, because I film on my phone, I imagine I'm talking to, all of you, and I'm just having a conversation, kind of like we have a conversation. So it makes my day wonderful and beautiful, and you all have changed my life. And I just want to say a huge, huge thank you. So welcome to Proven Winners / Park Winners, right? It is a pop-up event. The goal, again, is to do the plant sale, and you all have done that. So a huge thank you. A huge thank you to Raphael and John at Park Winners for hosting us. He's back there in that beautiful hat. This place is heaven on earth. I have to hold myself back from doing so many videos here because I just want to be here all the time. And for those of you who have never been here before, I'm sorry, because you're going to want to come and you're going to say to your partner, let's go for brunch at Park Winners, and you're going to spend a lot of money, and I'm really sorry. I apologize. But it's a really, really fun, wonderful, beautiful place. Sorry about this microphone. Hello? Okay. So a huge thank you to Park Winters. A huge thank you to Fessler Nursery, which I don't think they're back. I think they're still at the plants. They started growing these plants way back in February. I talked to them. I talked to Tanner Fessler, and I said, hey, I have this idea. Would you be willing to do this? Because it's the only way that I could get these plants grown for us. And they trucked them down from Oregon to bring the plants here today. So it was huge of them. So for you guys purchasing those plants, it's huge. Now I am nudging, wink, wink to the Fessler Nursery. And I'm saying you guys need to grow more annuals and truck them down to us, please. Right? Right? And all the garden center owners around here, the more that we tell them how much we want these plants, we want access to these plants, that's how you do it. Is you tell them, they tell the growers tell Proven Winners, all the things. So it just kind of goes up the line. So again, just being a squeaky wheel is absolutely the way to go. Did everybody know that we have Turkovich wine here? Do you guys know about Turkovich? Oh, so I'm part of the wine club. So it's been my goal in life to say I'm part of a wine club. So I'm part of a wine club, and it's Turkovich Wine Club. They're out of Winters. They're fabulous. If you guys have noticed, we have these wine glasses that say Proven Winners. and the trowel, you guys go to Turkovich and grab one. You don't even have to have wine, right? Just go grab one so you guys can have one. Then they're serving their wine. You guys can join their wine club. They have a beautiful tasting room in downtown Winters. If you guys haven't been there, head over there as well. Then another huge, oh my goodness, huge thank you to our sponsors. Huge thank you. Vigo Garden, right? We contacted them and we said, hey, will you donate some raffle prizes? 3 beds, one $500 bed, right? It's just insane. Espoma. Where's Carla? Where's Carla? There she is. Carla from Espoma. Carla came here. She is our West Coast rep. She is the one who is bringing more Espoma to us. Again, squeaky wheel, you guys. Squeaky wheels, right? We got to be the squeaky wheels here. So a huge thank you to Espoma. They donated all the soil, They donated all the soil. They donated, we have some land and sea compost, if anybody wants that, right? We have some tones. We have a tone raffle package that you can win. A whole bunch of really wonderful stuff. And Carla is the one who is working on getting it to us, right? Getting it to those Ace Hardwares, getting it to those independent garden centers, getting it to even Home Depot, right? So that we can use the good stuff, the really good stuff. And I can go on and on and on about why I chose, Espoma is my brand, because they are actually good stuff, right? So just side note. Hello. Okay. Huge thank you to Bootstrap Farmer. That was thanks to Robbie. Where's Robbie? Yeah. Robbie did that. And then speaking of, a huge thank you to Robbie for being here. A huge thank you to Kate David for being here. A huge thank you to Michael Glassman for being here. Oh my goodness. And by the way, a huge thank you to Courtney. Courtney did. So I just showed up and I just smiled, basically. Okay, so we are going to get started. Let me just check my notes and see if I forgot anything. Courtney, did I forget anything?
Jason.
Oh yeah, Jason. I love you. I love you so much. You're amazing. I love you so much. Okay. And the other, also HoseLink, right? You guys, HoseLink, there's a coupon in your swag bags for $25 off. Did you guys see the tea in the swag bags? That's Kate. She has a tea sommelier. It's insane. Like, it's super fancy tea. And then a huge thank you to my daughters. Where are they? Where are you guys? Where are you guys? There you are! They did the bracelets. Yes, they're on the payroll. Yes, I love them. Okay, anyway, I will stop, but I just want to say I love you all so much. We are going to get started with... Oh, thank you to Mom and Dad. I love you, Mom and Dad. Thank you to Courtney's Mom and Dad. Okay, we are going to get started. Let's get started with Kate. Kate David is a landscape designer from the Seattle area. I met her at the Northwest Flower and Garden Festival. She's incredible. She has so much talent in this little body. It's amazing. So, I'm really sorry. So Kate's going to get started with a demonstration, a planting demonstration. She specializes in containers.
Hi, my friends. This is so fun to be here. Oh,
Two mics, please hold. Please hold caller. We're doing it? It's happening? Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? It's so fun to be here. This is such a treat. Flew in from Seattle yesterday and just loving this weather. It's a treat. So as Janey said, I am a landscape designer in Seattle, Washington. And I do, funny enough, I started specializing in containers 5 years ago, and the demand for my containers has skyrocketed. We're getting closer. And I ended up doing probably around 900 containers a year. So I do a few. And I have had the opportunity to play with some incredible annuals. and it has become just where I feel so much creative freedom. And so I wanted to talk through containers really quick. This is a beautiful one that we were doing. This has wheels on it, which is lovely. And a couple fun things that I thought I might kind of walk you through whenever I'm doing a container. I have had the pick of the litter to do basically anything I want with the Proven Winner product that's out there. And so I have chosen some dynamic selections so you can really see what I'm working with in terms of placement, cohesive, building a color story. So with a round container like this, you have two options. If you're up against a wall, you can certainly center your piece, your centerpiece towards the back. This one, because I don't know who gets to take it home, but I want it to be visible from many different angles. So I'm going to do what I like to call a collar planting. And whenever you do a collar planting, I see a lot of people come in here and they'll put the centerpiece in the middle and then just round robin it. Everyone lined up like little ducks in a row. That's not what we want to do. So there's little tiny shifts that you can do with your containers that really create a much more dynamic relationship between the plants. So just as if we are designing a larger landscape, I'm in a client's home, I could shift a plant 1 foot to the left, 1 foot to the right, and it's going to make a big impact. This is a micro landscape. So our shift in our movements of small 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch means the difference between a container that looks beautiful and an actual arrangement. And this is something I talk about on my channel. I talk about it as container geometry. And so we're always looking and creating shapes and creating movement because I want our eye to drink it all in. And I also want our plants that we've chosen to dance together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through a very simple, we're going to do a collar planting, which is again, what I refer to when I have a centerpiece and I'm just enhancing the collar. And I have chosen 3 plants and we're going to repeat these. So we're going to have 9 plants going around. So the first of them, this is one of my favorite. This is a sweet potato vine. We all know it. We all love it. This one, however, is a really interesting variety. This is Illusion Midnight Lace. And so this is going to have a beautiful cascading effect on our container arrangement. And when I plant these things, what you're going to notice is they say like thriller, filler, spiller, but I don't even feel like that encapsulates the breadth and width of what we want to achieve in a container. So this has a beautiful kind of serrated leaf, really, really interesting, spiky. I often refer to this as a little bit sexy, like just oof, yummy. And then I am going to pair it with some lemon coral sedum. Now, what we're noticing here is we are building a really dynamic color story just with our texture. I also want to encourage you to play with texture because texture is what takes a container from basic floral moment to something that is just elevated and interesting and we don't need to have 8,000 different flowers. We choose and we curate this container so that each flower gets its own moment to shine. So what you're going to notice me do is I'm going to place these ones a little bit more forward in our arrangement, and we're going to have a little bit of a play back and forth. Okay, and I'm playing back and forth here. I wish I had a wireless mic on, but we're going to just play with what we've got. So I'm going to go ahead and whenever I do a collar planting, I go one at a time, right? So I don't go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, because you lose track of your balance. Remember, this is container geometry. We need a little bit of precision, okay? So I've chosen 9 plants. So I immediately am starting to establish some triangle relationships within my container, okay? Alrighty, so we've got our little triangle set up here. The next thing I am going to choose for this container is I am choosing my color moment. Now in the centerpiece here, this is just a beautiful selection. It's Summerific ballet slippers. So this is hibiscus, and I'm going to leave all the tags up here. So after we're done, you can come up here and you can really see what we're working with. But this is a beautiful, yummy, soft pink. And right in the center, you have this moment of vibrancy. And that moment of vibrancy, what that does is it allows us to play with some strength of color. So you can take this container 2 ways. You can go super soft, or you can edge it up a little bit by popping some additional color, and that's what I've chosen to do here. So for this container, I am doing this super sweet. This is another Proven Winners. It's Super Bell's Blackcurrant Punch. And again, I'll have the tag up here, but what you're going to notice is, again, I'm playing with the centers of all of these flowers as our moments to pop. So the center right here plays off of this sweet potato vine really, really well. And so again, I'm not just I'm not choosing plants. I'm choosing plants that are going to have a relationship to one another. And that is going to tie this whole entire thing together. So the other thing I wanted to say here is before I fill my container with soil, I'm going to amend it, right? Because this is a micro landscape, and at a certain point, we're going to run out of food for our plants in here. So whenever I am doing a container design for a client and I'm recharging it at the beginning of a season, I always amend it with biotone. It just is a really great one to get those roots off to the races. That's going to let this go for a couple weeks, and then I will start in with a liquid fertilizer on a regular schedule. And so really we're not only just planting these things, but we're feeding them. This is a hardworking container, and it is an enclosed space, so we've got to give it those nutrients. The other thing I was going to mention is that if anyone is doing some shopping over there, you feel free to tag me and pull me over, and I am happy to kind of give you some guidance on the different things that I would choose, because I had so many different things. If you have known any of my work, this is another one that I'd love to play with. This is a euphorbia. This adds some beautiful height. This is I call it a frothy bit. So I always have these little textural elements. That was really beautiful. I mean, I could have done this 8 ways from Sunday. This scavola here, like that's sensational. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to pop this up for you, and we're going to see it come together. And again, simple, very clean, very curated, concise palette, and she's going to be beautiful. Now, one thing you might notice I'm doing as I'm going through this is if you come up close, you're going to see this arrangement, and you're going to have a little bit of a zigzag pattern going around. The reason I'm doing this is, again, by placing things at a diagonal, you actually increase the surface area that this plant can take up. So I will oftentimes do this in my own personal cut flower garden. I won't have rows that are samey. I will be creating diagonal patterns. So I'm allowing the maximum amount that this plant wants to take up. And it also allows them to have more of a conversation with one another, as opposed to like everyone lined up for a school photo and it looks really, really stiff. You know, that's like uncomfortable to look at. So I like to have a conversation. And then another tip, as you are at home planting this up, we place everything in triangles, which I always place everything first to really take a look at it to see how my eye enjoys it. Because you may plan it out and you're like, oh yeah, this is going to be great. And then you get home and you put it in place and you're like, something ain't right here. So what I do is I lay it out first, and then I will go through and I will plant it in the exact same geometric pattern, starting with my center element and moving my way outward. And that way, if I were to start here and work my way around, I may end up with a super awkward moment of a bigger space here or too squished. So I'm always going to be zipping around. So you're going to see me do this, and I'm going to go triangle, triangle, triangle all the way around. And it's how I keep my brain accountable, because it tends to wander sometimes. And by the way, with biotone, I'm never super precise. I've gone through like probably 5 bags already this month because I do so many hundreds of containers. But again, a really, really important product because we're not just working on blooms, we're working on a solid root system for our plants, because that is actually what's going to support the life of this container, right? So if we put these in kind of like depleted soil, you aren't going to get the blooms. It could certainly pump out a lot, but it's going to, when you go to rip it out at the end of the season, you're going to notice we've just got this itty bitty root system. So we start roots first and blooms progress from there. I always feel like I'm baking a cake when I do this. And for the person who's actually going to be taking this home, I'm going to go ahead and leave all of the tags. This is another fun thing. When you do a container as like a hostess gift or something like that, what I'll do is I'll pile all of my containers together, or the tags together, and I'll just tuck them in the back. So whoever you are giving this to, they know what they're getting. Okay, I did hear someone say so fast, and I'm like, girl, I was going in slow-mo. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much. This has been so fun. It's been so lovely meeting all of you, and certainly come up and say hi, and I love answering questions and all those great things. So thank you so much for being here. And for those of you who have also subscribed, I just want to echo what Janey says. When you do follow along on someone's adventure, it 100% changes how we are able to do business. And when you comment and you're like, oh my gosh, I learned XYZ, it just makes us want to spill forth more of the genius and the knowledge that, I know I've gained over a lifetime of gardening and 10 years as a professional. And it really is so lovely to have you all here. So it's a pleasure. Our pleasure is ours. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Now it's time for another one of my favorite people. You guys can see where I went with this event, right? It's just my favorite people, right? So the next one, he is an award-winning landscape designer. He's been on HGTV, two shows. Three shows. My goodness. Michael Glassman, guys.
It's definitely an honor to be here, and I have to say one thing real quickly. Normally, when I do a talk, it's in a building, and you look up at the roof, and it's a building, and it's got walls. How lucky can I say I feel that, we're surrounded by some of the most gorgeous environment. You're looking at the fields, you've got the trees, you've got the clouds, the weather is perfect. Who could ask for anything better? If you're going to give a talk, wow, what a perfect place to do it. Thank you. Park winners, and thank you, Janey. Janey asked me to talk on one of my favorite subjects, which is art in the garden. And the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to find a saying that would kind of give a feel for the whole thing. And I found this. It was said by Pablo Picasso. Art washes away the dust of everyday life. And that is so true. People ask me, and I've been doing this for years. I'm old. As I tell people, I'm a dinosaur. But people ask me, what exactly am I? Yes, I'm a landscape designer. Yes, I have a degree in landscape architecture. Yes, I studied in Europe landscape design. But what I classify myself as, and this is where art comes in, I think of myself as an exterior designer. I work with a lot of interior designers. But here's the interesting thing. When I talk to people, it's like, where do you start? How do you kind of put this all together so you don't just feel like it's helter-skelter? So what I basically tell people is, okay, let's start with you're doing the inside of your house. So you think about it, you've got walls, you've got ceiling, you've got floors, and you want to unify the whole thing together. So when you're doing the inside, you start thinking about materials. And then as you build on that, as you build on the materials, you think about, okay, I've got blank walls. What am I going to do with the wall? Well, besides painting them or fauxing them. Well, a lot of us think about, okay, we have a piece of art that we might want to focus and showcase on the wall. Whether it be a painting, whether it be a sculpture, whether it be one of the things that you're going to see in Park Winters that Raphael is so good about is repurposing forgotten things that people would throw away. One person's trash is another person's treasure. That's art. Art is what we consider special. So you'll put that on a wall, you'll put it in a corner. Well, what I found is that people have no problems thinking about art in the inside, but then when we get in the outside, we kind of forget about it. That isn't to say, and I'm not going to judge, but Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or a gnome in the garden, or Snoopy or a dinosaur. Yes, maybe we consider that art, but I'm thinking in terms of something a little bit more refined. And so what I tell people is, as you're designing your space, how do you start? Well, you start thinking about outdoor spaces, outdoor usable environments. outdoor rooms. Well, if we're doing a room, again, you have a blank wall. So for example, I love the outdoor fireplace that we have over here. It's made out of recycled old broken concrete. But if you look at it and you say, well, what could enhance it? Well, the idea of putting a piece of art, maybe one of Raphael's old rusted pieces of machinery sitting there could really enhance that. Maybe an old piece of driftwood that you found that you go ahead and do a mantle on it. It's just one more element that would enhance the environment. As you're designing, you're thinking about design, I think it's really important that we start thinking about elevating our yards to include art. Now, I will tell you, my wife and I collect art, and it's one of the passions. But what we've also done is, besides having it in the inside of the house, and some of you may have also seen Janey's video of that, we've actually used it in the outside. And I will tell you, besides giving me a lot of pleasure just looking at it, when it's wintertime and everything else is pretty barren, I look outside and when there's no blooms, my art is just blooming away. It's shining. At night, when everything goes dark, I've got illumination, outdoor lighting, illuminating the art. So no matter where you look at, there's something to look at. And it's something to think about, is that when you're designing or you're thinking about putting your spaces together, I think it's really, really important that you think about incorporating art. Whether it be something that you maybe, it was passed down. In fact, one of the best examples, I was doing a house in Sacramento, and it was they wanted it to look like New Orleans. And he had an old piece that his great-grandmother gave to his grandmother, who gave it to his mother, who then gave it to him. And it was a piece of, it was an old sculpture. It was concrete. Half the head was hanging off. It had moss on it. And he said, do I throw it away? I said, no, absolutely not. Let's put it in a flower bed. Let's uplight it. Let's put really colorful plants around it and make it a feature. I said, it has significance to you. It may not mean anything to me, but when you look at it, you think about all the generations that have passed this on that made it special. That's what I talk about art. We had a blank wall on another job, a garage wall, and they wanted something, and it was the focal point. When you looked out in the yard, that's all you saw. And so they happen to have a friend that does murals. So she painted a mural on the wall, and in front of it, we did a raised planter with planting, so that now when you sit out there and you eat, it actually feels like you're in Europe, because you have this little European scene with the planting in front of it, and it always looks wonderful. So it's like it's thinking out of the box. It's coming up with things that will expand your horizons, expand your garden, and make your space special. And that's the whole thing. Sure, planting is wonderful, but plants in the wintertime, they go dormant. In the summer, they burn. In the wintertime, they may be underground. In fact, it's really funny because I take clients sometimes to the nursery. We're picking perennials, and it's in the wintertime, and it's like, we talk about hostas. You show them a 1-gallon hosta. There's nothing in the pot. And you're trying to tell them, oh my God, this is such a beautiful plant. And they're looking, they're going, I'm going to pay $7 for a bucket of dirt. You know, so what I'm basically saying to you is it's another element of design that when you're thinking about your yard, you want to incorporate. There's a flyer, and you can see that these are different art forms that either I've designed or I've incorporated. Most of them are designs of my own. And it's not just a painting. It's not just a sculpture. In fact, on one of them, there's a mural. It's all made out of recycled mosaic. That's another thing. I mean, you can try making things yourself. It's amazing what you can create. For example, and it doesn't cost you anything. You can go to an old tile store, and you go in there, and they have, tile, floor tile and tile. And when the boxes are stacked, sometimes they fall and they break. And so all that broken tile, they just put in the dumpster. Well, you can go to the manager and say, you know, do you have any broken tile? They'll direct you to the dumpster. You collect it. That broken tile, you get some different colors, and that would make an incredible mosaic. Whether you do it as stepping stones, whether you put it on for a table, whether you do it a tabletop. These are things that make something elevated, special, and especially if you can do it yourself. Oh my God, how special is that? One last thing, and to tell you, to expand on that, I had a client, did a consultation. They're in Sacramento. They had a contemporary Japanese farmhouse. That was the architecture of the house. And I came in, I did a consultation, but as I was getting ready to go to the backyard, I walked through the house and there were these incredible art mosaics all over. And I went, who did those? And she goes, me. And I said, well, what do you mean, me? She goes, that's my hobby. She is a real estate appraiser. She also owns a real estate company, and that's her mainstay. But her passion is to do these mosaics. We're looking around and everything, and she said, well, I definitely want to hire you to do a plan. And I said, there is a condition. And she goes, a condition? What do you mean? I said, yes, I will design your yard, but the condition is that I want to incorporate your art. So behind the pool, there was nothing. And I wanted to create a focal point. So we did a 10-foot high wall with a sheet of water sheeting down, but that wall was covered in mosaic. And I said to her, we're going to put you on a scaffold, and you're going to spend as long as it takes to actually create a mosaic. And she said, I could do it. And that is one of the most incredible backyards. And as she takes people through, the focal point of the whole yard is this mosaic sheet of water coming into the pool. And the first thing she says is, I created that. The pride on her face, the smile on her face. We also had her do the outdoor kitchen, and we snuck in to do the steps, all of the steps, the risers on the steps. So all I have to say to you is, think out of the box, think about art, be thankful that we're here. And the one thing that I will say, and I know I'm almost out of time. Oh, okay. I just want to say one thing about it. The group of people here, and Janey was saying it, it is so reaffirming to be around people that are positive, that believe in something inspirational. Plants they save your lives. Gardening is what we all need. It's one of the things I was talking to someone before, and I will say it. The thing that this world is lacking right now is kindness. We need more of that. One of the things that I love so much about Janey's site and the whole gardening world is affirmation of love, of growing things, of healing the soul. And again, art washes away the dust of the everyday life. Thank you very much.
So much. Michael, you are amazing. You are just this bright, shining light that's come into my life, and I just appreciate you. And I want to hear more from him, right? Like every single day he says, oh, I have a garden I want to show you. Yes, I'll be there when, right? So the more you want to hear from Michael, bug him about it. But can I tell the story of Elaine with the comments? Is that okay? Yeah. Elaine, I don't know where you are. So Michael, we did our first video when I went and I toured his garden. This was last year, right after the Pence Gallery garden tour. And, it's nerve-wracking to be on YouTube and to be able to get comments from strangers. Like, are they going to be mean to me? Are they going to say something about something that I've worked on so much? And I said, no. The people that watch my videos are kind. They're so cool. Trust me, Michael. And so we posted the video, and the next day he calls me and he says, Elaine was crying because she was so happy. It moved her, and it wasn't the video, it was the comments, it was the reaction that people had to something that Michael was so passionate about. And that just made me, it gave me chills. It just was so, it just kept me going for so much, you know what I mean? It was just so incredibly wonderful. And so, again, a huge thank you to all of you, and thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. I know you've been waiting for him. I know you've been waiting. So I met Robbie, when did we even meet? Like a year ago?
A year ago.
Right, he's like my brother. I mean, honestly, it's you talk about you meet people and you're like, oh yeah, we're gonna be best friends. Okay, that's it. That's no big deal. But this man, he doesn't show all the layers that are there, right? He is the sweetest, kindest, most giving, most wonderful, most passionate man. And when he looks at a flower, when he looks at a cut flower, when he looks at a bouquet, you can see it's ticking inside his brain, and he has a special talent. And sometimes I just like watching his videos and seeing what he's doing. It's not even what he's saying, I kind of just tune him out, but it's just what he's actually doing with the flowers, and it's magic when you watch him do it. And so luckily he's going to do it for us today. So Robbie, I can't say your last name, McMenomey from Visit Our Garden.
Okay, I'm not nervous at all, by the way. Hold on. Okay, I've got my flowers. I went out there and I picked 2 small bouquets. Hold on. I'm gonna move this so we don't get so much feedback. That should be better so it doesn't make that hissing sound. So I went out to the flower field and I picked 2 bouquets, and here you guys are gonna do like 8 stems. And so I just kind of went and grabbed a few things. This is the vase that you guys are gonna be using. I used to have my own cut flower garden in my backyard, and it took up the entire yard, and I loved doing it. When we have more space, I will be doing it again. I think it's so worth it. I have found the best flowers to use for a cut flower garden, the ones that don't take up a ton of space, that you can just tuck into really any landscape. I've got my favorites, Scabiosa, which I did grab, which is this one right here, one of my favorites to use in the garden. They bloom and bloom and bloom, and the seed heads are my favorite to also use in the flower arrangements. They're really, really pretty when they go to seed. So my tip on cut flowers is to cut a little bit longer than you think. If I were to have cut this at just this one flower point, it really wouldn't be very long, and it would sink to the very bottom of the flower arrangement. I want this to like stand up and be tall in the flower arrangement. So I'm gonna show you guys my 8 stems. So for this one, I went in and I picked up some Dusty Miller. I love Dusty Miller. You guys know I've got like a huge patch of it, and I cut on that thing non-stop. I've got some of the New Look that I'm trying this year. This is the New Look variety. And then this is the more traditional variety, so you can see the difference in them. I really like both of them. I grew both last year, and I made a wreath out of Dusty Miller, and it's still holding all of its color. So I'm gonna go in, and I'm gonna kind of go in with one of the traditional, one of the New Look. That was a lie. I'm gonna go in with 2 of the New Look, one of those. I've got a couple of Scabiosa. So this one I did cut as a single because it's really long, and that's okay if it's long. If it was short like this one was, I wouldn't have done that, but this still sits up nice and high. And what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thanks. Then I was gonna go in with a couple other colors of Scabiosa. So this was just gonna be mostly Scabiosa. I wanted something to fill out the bouquet. If you go in with just 8 stems of just flowers, it's not gonna look like anything. So you have to get something to fill that space out. So my flowers that I'm using are the Scabiosa, and those are gonna be my like big impact plants. And then I've got all the little buds on them, which is nice because that still, you know, allows more. So this is one bouquet, that's 8 stems right there, which is a really good size, you know, flower arrangement. We'll fit that just like this. I always try to give a fresh cut. I did cut these and I immediately stuck them in water before I brought them over here. So there's our one small 8 stem flower arrangement, nice and full. I want to show you, if I were to just go in with flowers, this is what it would look like. No filler. You have to have something to fill it out with. I know it's like super easy to just grab just the flowers because you want all the flowers, but you really, it doesn't come together until you add something to like fill out that base. So with this one, I was going to go in with a couple sweet peas right here. And then I've got a nigella, so I'm going pinks and blues on this one. I've got 2 of the nigella, 2 sweet peas, and then I thought this wheat was just kind of fun. Just add something like kind of like out of there, you know, out of the element. tuck that in right in the middle. I'm gonna go kind of lower with those. And then we'll wrap it. And I open these up down low. You know, normally you would go in with maybe a couple. If I was at home, I would go in with like 5 long stems of the Dusty Miller, but just something to just kind of like small, fill it out, pull it all together. Give it a nice healthy cut at the bottom, and then it's good to go. So I've got, you know, my little tips on that, and then I've got my flowers that I really love to use. I've got cosmos that we grow to cut. Cosmos are amazing. They're cut and come again, and you can cut them in their bud stage and they'll still continue to open. I love cutting on zinnias. That's another one that's absolutely amazing. But zinnias don't open, so you want to cut those when they're ready to be like fully opened and they're ready to go in a flower arrangement. Those are my 2 absolute favorites. And then I just kind of go around my property and I'll pull branches off of trees and I'll tuck those in. And that's amazing. And it just kind of like, people look at it and they're like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, that's, you know, a whole maple branch. It's fine. So those are kind of like my little tips and tricks. And I always go in with more of these like outer pieces, your filler plants, than you actually need. That's kind of like the biggest thing is, you know, going with 5 to 8 of your flowers and then a ton of different filler, ton of different texture, and it keeps it fun. I think that's it. Thanks. Thanks.
All right, you guys, Robbie. He's so good on camera. You did good, Robbie.
Thanks.
He is
Thanks.
a master arranging flowers. So for those of you who are interested in doing the cut flower experience with your ticket, we have a mini version of the cut flower. This is a mini version. Park Winters has a maximum version, that you can come and you can get like a ton of flowers. And obviously we had to do a mini version for this one, but make sure you take advantage of that. With the pamphlet that you picked up, you guys got a time. I know that we're kind of going over with everything, so if it's not your time, don't worry. Like if we've already passed your time, just go ahead and go. Robbie's going to be hanging out there with Brent. Is Brent going to be there?
Maybe.
Brent, yes, Brent's going to be there. So if you have any questions about like arranging things or putting things together, you can ask him. And then after you pick your flowers, you go into this flower barn right here, and it's beautiful. If you guys haven't been in there, it's stunning. It's where they have all of their dried flowers, and they will help you arrange it in there and put your flowers in water and all that kind of stuff. It's amazing. So then the other thing I wanted to say is that we do have lunch for all of you. There are some amazing spring rolls, and so they're boxed lunches. You have a ticket for that on your pamphlet as well. And so you're just going to take that up to the pavilion when we walked in, hand them your ticket, and you can get your boxed lunch. Again, make sure you get your wine, and if you don't want your wine, just go get the glass. You know what I mean? Like, it's a beautiful glass. It's really cool. Proven winners paid for it. So you might as well grab one of those. You know what I mean? They're really, really neat. And then the other thing that I want to say is this is only half of Park Winters, and we only have access to the whole thing until, is Raphael here? I think we only have access till 1 o'clock because they have a wedding. And that's the thing, is they fit us in. We talked to them and we said, can we do it this day? And they had a wedding last night, and they have a wedding this evening. So that's why they fit us in, and we appreciate it so much. But if you guys have a chance, get your tush over there to the east side and go see the sunken garden, because it is something to see.